You know, there is this special moment in a relationship when your inner Sherlock Holmes wakes up and says, "Bro, something doesn't feel right here." And no, it's not when she forgot to delete her emails or when she smells someone else's perfume on her shirt collar. It's when she answers your questions so quickly that it's suspicious, like she's taking an exam and knows the right answer. Miranda has been, let's just say, a little strange lately. Delays with the girls, a phone she never lets go of, and if she does, she hides it as if it were a nuclear code. And most importantly, her twin sister Melanie. They are identical, by the way. One in the same. Even their eyebrows are the same, except for a small scar above Miranda's left eye. They also walk in sync, like cloned robots. They chatted together, whispered and gave each other those special looks. You know, the ones that say, "I think he suspects something." And then there was that phone call. I was just sitting in the kitchen when it vibrated on the table. The screen said, "Mel." And then I made a fatal mistake. I picked up the phone. "Hi, honey," I heard Miranda's voice. "Hold on. Wait. Miranda." But she's in the shower. I can hear the water running, the bathroom door is closed, and the phone is here. Who is it? My throat is dry. "Alex. What are you doing with Mel's phone?" I hung up the phone and just froze. After that call, I couldn't get it out of my head. Miranda in the shower and her voice on the phone. It didn't fit into any logical scheme. I started to follow her more closely. And yes, I know it sounds disgusting. But when you are in doubt, you are ready to do anything, even if it means turning into an amateur detective. At first, I tried the classic eavesdropping method. Like suddenly entering the room when he and Melanie were talking, or eavesdropping on their nightly gatherings. But these two. They were too careful. As if they knew in advance that I was around. And then I decided, cameras. Yes, I installed a camera in my bedroom. No, I am not proud of this decision. But how else could I find out the truth? The first few days, nothing. They were laughing, talking, discussing some nonsense. I even thought for a moment that I was really going overboard and I should throw this camera away. But then the third day came. On the screen, I saw Melanie come to our house. She was alone. She sat on the edge of the bed and started waiting for something. A few minutes later Miranda came in. "Do you think he suspects something?" Melanie asked. "Of course he does. But hell never know the truth," Miranda replied. It sounded like that. What do you mean, hell never know? What the hell were they up to? And that's when it occurred to me to check them out again. I told Miranda that I was going on a business trip for the weekend. In fact, I booked a cheap motel nearby and connected to the camera through my phone. Saturday. It's evening. Miranda thinks I'm not home. And then Melanie appears on the screen again. She enters the bedroom and sits on the bed. A few minutes later Miranda comes in. They are talking about me. Again. And they're laughing. That's when I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the keys, flew out of the motel and drove home like that. I opened the door with my foot, okay, that's a metaphor, I did have the keys, and went up to the bedroom. There, in the dim light of the nightlight, were both of them. Miranda and Melanie. Both turned their heads to me. "Alex. You shouldn't have seen that," Miranda said. I looked at them and didn't understand what was going on. "Sit down and we'll explain everything," Melanie added. "Sit down, we'll explain everything to you," Melanie said, her voice sounding so sweet that my tooth hurt. I sat down, but not because I wanted to listen to them. It was just that my legs were giving out. In front of me sat two identical women, both with serious faces, but with eyes that seemed to be laughing at me. "Alex," Miranda began, "you don't think there's something wrong here, do you?" "No, of course not," I just stormed into the bedroom like a madman, I couldn't help but sarcastically reply. "You've got it all wrong," Melanie continued, "Miranda and I, we share personal space sometimes. It's a sister thing." "A sister thing? Are they serious? Personal space? Are you kidding me? You're two grown women. Alex, we love you. Sometimes we just get our roles mixed up a little bit." I looked at them and realized that they weren't even trying to come up with a normal explanation. They're just stalling, throwing me cheap excuses and thinking I'll swallow it. So you were just sharing space and that's okay, right? That's right, Melanie smiled so much that I could barely resist the urge to turn my chair over. This conversation made no sense. They were hiding something, but they were too confident to even try to convince me. Alex, honey, can we just forget about it? Miranda said, coming closer and putting her hand on my shoulder. We don't want to fight. Little things. Did she call it nothing? I stood up. All right, girls. Maybe I am exaggerating. Maybe it's all in my head. I saw them look at each other. Their smiles were too confident and their body language too relaxed. Yeah, honey, you just need to get some rest, Miranda said. I will, I replied and left the bedroom. But everything was boiling inside me. They were lying. They were lying to my face, and worst of all, they thought I was naive enough to swallow their pathetic excuses. For the next few days, I acted as natural as possible. I had breakfast with them, joked around, hugged Miranda before work. But I already had a plan in mind. I started collecting information. I checked their phones while they were sleeping. I installed several more cameras in the house. I even recorded their conversation when they thought I was in the shower. And guess what? It turned out that Melanie wasn't just filling in for Miranda. They were arranging some meetings behind my back, setting me up in front of my friends, and even seemingly using my finances for their own purposes. I was the perfect husband for the next few days. Miranda relaxed, and Melanie seemed to have forgotten that I had ever suspected them. They started acting like I was dumber than they were. Alex, Melanie, and I are going to a girls' night out tonight, Miranda said over breakfast, playfully licking her yogurt spoon. Of course not. You two have a good night's rest. I won't be lost here, I winked at her and smiled so sincerely that I even believed myself. They left, and I stayed at home, got ready and went to the mall. No, not for investigative gadgets or surveillance systems. I bought myself a new set of barbecue tools, a few bottles of beer and sausages. And you know what? It was one of the best evenings I've had in months. I was sitting in the backyard, grilling meat and listening to music. It was manly therapy. But you know what's interesting? When you are calm and relaxed, life sometimes gives you clues. At about 10 in the evening, I received a message on my phone. It was from Melanie. Well, more precisely, from Melanie's phone. Honey, I miss you already. And a photo was attached. A photo of my wife in the arms of some guy with her shirt half open. Melanie had clearly sent it to the wrong person. I looked up at the night sky, exhaled and said to myself, God, what fools you are. But I didn't reply. I just deleted the message and finished my beer. In the morning they returned home. Cheerful, a bit crumpled, but happy. Hi, darling. Miranda kissed me on the cheek. She smelled like cheap perfume and somebody else's cologne. How was your evening? It was great. I sat around, grilled meat, relaxed. How are you? Did you have a good time? Oh, great. Melanie chimed in, you know what it's like to have a night out with the girls. With the girls, right. And with one guy with his shirt open. I smiled, nodded, and offered them coffee. We sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee and pretending that everything was fine. I decided to change my tactics. No reproaches, no suspicions. On the contrary, I became an even better husband. I brought flowers for no reason, booked dinner at their favorite restaurant. Miranda was delighted. You've become so romantic lately, she said one evening. I just want you to be happy, I replied. But the best moment was on the weekend when I invited them both to a picnic. Imagine, a sunny day, a big blanket, a basket of wine and snacks. And, of course, my wife and her twin sister next to me. Alex, this is a great idea. Miranda exclaimed as we lounged on the grass. Well, sometimes I have good ideas, I replied and raised my wine glass. But inside I was laughing. Because I had already made up my mind. Instead of exposing them right away, I decided to make their lives a real mess. I started to drop hints. Small but very precise hints. Melanie, wasn't that your phone ringing yesterday when I was in the shower? I asked one day. She froze for a second and then smiled. No, you must have imagined something. Maybe, I replied and smiled back. Then I suddenly started disappearing in the evenings. The explanation. I was working late. Miranda started to get nervous. She was used to me always being around. One day I left my phone in the kitchen with an open correspondence with some Sarah. The message was simple. Thanks for last night. Do you know how they ran to my phone? And I just looked at it from around the corner and could hardly contain my laughter. You know, there's a golden rule: if a woman starts talking too much about girls' nights out, then somewhere in the world, one Christopher is already unbuttoning his shirt. Alex, Melanie, and I are planning to go to a spa hotel for the weekend. Just the two of us, a girl's vacation. Miranda said it so casually that I almost choked on my omelet. Oh, that's great. Have a good time, I replied with a smile, although the advertising slogan was already running through my head: a spa hotel is where you need to relax your soul. But my face remained impeccably calm. They came back tanned, with sparkling eyes and tired smiles. They looked as if they had visited the sauna not in towels, but in something more intimate. How was your vacation? I asked, diligently spreading butter on my toast. Oh, it was so good. Massages, the pool, champagne. Miranda chirped. Yeah, I can see that. The masseur must have been so good that you still can't sit up properly, I said, feigning interest. She giggled, but it was nervous. Alex, you're always so, Melanie began. Sharp-tongued. Girls, don't worry. If anything, Christopher the masseur will give me a discount. I winked and went to the living room. In the evening, when they were already asleep, I lay down on the bed and inhaled. Under the pillow I found a black, short hair. It was definitely not mine. Well, hello, Christopher, I muttered under my breath. The next day I ran into my friend Jack, who works at the same hotel. Jack is a simple guy, but he has a tongue like a Dyson vacuum cleaner's turbo mode. Alex. Your girls had such a great weekend, he said and winked at me. Yeah. How were they? Did they have fun? Fun is an understatement. They were laughing so hard in the sauna with that Christopher guy. Sauna? I asked again, as if by accident. Yeah, Christopher said he was going to give them a hot treatment. Thank you, Jack. You made my day. That evening, when we were sitting at dinner, I couldn't resist. By the way, girls, did Christopher heat up the sauna well? Miranda's spoon hung in the air, and Melanie choked on a piece of salad. What? What Christopher? Miranda tried to look innocent. No, it's just that Jack from the hotel said you had a hot program. Massages, saunas, talking, Jack. Melanie was almost hoarse. Yes, he said to say hello. You tipped him, didn't you? I got up from the table and went to the bedroom, leaving the two of them in awkward silence. The next day I gave them a present, 2 tickets to the same spa hotel. You had such a great vacation last time that I decided to give you another surprise. Have another vacation. Miranda was smiling, but her eyes were running. Melanie looked as if she had swallowed a plastic fork. Oh, Alex, that's so cute. Take some pictures for me, especially with Christopher. Give him my best. The tickets to the spa hotel were on the kitchen table. Miranda was nervously fingering them, and Melanie was trying to look like she was doing math in her head. Probably the number of piercings they had gotten in the last week. Alex, are you sure? Maybe we shouldn't go, Miranda began. What? No, no, no. This is for you guys. Relaxation, sauna, Christopher's. Sorry, masseur. You guys love these trips, I winked and took a sip of coffee. Before the trip, they spend an hour in front of the mirror. A red dress, a black dress, light makeup, then not so light, and then so light that even the wall was surprised. Are you going to the casting of The Bachelor? I asked, passing by them in my bathrobe. Alex, it's just for a nice photo. We're girls, we want to look pretty. Melanie gave me a displeased look. Photos. Yeah, especially in the jacuzzi, with Christopher, I mumbled, but loud enough for them to hear. Judging by the way Miranda accidentally flipped her makeup bag over, the joke went over well. They finally got ready. I helped them load their suitcases into the car and waved at them until their car disappeared around the corner. Yes, Alex, this is your time, I said to myself and opened a bottle of beer. I opened my laptop and went to the spa hotel's website. Yes, Christopher, hold on. I have a little surprise for you. Meanwhile, Miranda and Melanie arrived at the hotel. Fresh and happy. But, as often happens when a woman is sure she is in control, she stops being careful. Oh, it's that masseur. Melanie elbowed Miranda, pointing to a man in a hotel uniform. Hello, girls, it's good to see you again, Christopher said, smiling so broadly that it seemed his cheekbones would hurt. We've been waiting for you. Miranda giggled. And, of course, all three of them went to the sauna. I was sitting on the couch, sipping whiskey and watching the live stream. Yes, I found a way to access the hotel cameras. Melanie, it's not what you think, I whispered to the screen, imitating Miranda's voice, it's just a really hot sauna. I'm not going to lie, it would be funny if it weren't so sad. And then I decided to add a little pepper. I dialed the hotel reception number. Good evening. My wife and her sister are staying with you. Could you give them a message? Certainly, sir. Tell them their husband is watching. I'm sorry, what? Just tell them. They'll understand. I hung up the phone and raised my glass. The next day they came back. They looked not very good. Melanie was silent, staring at the floor, and Miranda was smiling as if she had just had a tooth pulled without anesthesia. How was your vacation, darlings? I smiled broadly. Good, Miranda tried not to look me in the eye. What, the sauna wasn't as hot this time? I asked and sputtered into my water glass. Silence. I went to bed later than them that night. As I passed Melanie's room, I heard a whisper. Do you think he knows something? Mel, he doesn't know anything. He has no idea. I smiled and went to the kitchen for another bottle of whiskey. Oh, girls. You have no idea what I know, I muttered under my breath. Miranda has been particularly gentle lately. Too gentle. Alex, I've been terribly tired lately. I need to take a little break. Melanie will stay at home and I'm going to my parents' house for the weekend, she said in a whisper, making big sad eyes. To your parents? And they live in 5-star hotels with jacuzzis and Christopher now. Alex. Stop it. Why do you always think the worst? Maybe because I have you in my life, I smiled. She ignored my joke and continued packing her suitcase. The next morning Miranda left. Melanie stayed at home. But you know what was the funniest thing? She was dressed in Miranda's tracksuit, her hair was done up just like hers, and she was wearing the same perfume, the same as always. Hi, Alex, she said, walking into the kitchen and pretending to drink coffee like her sister always does. Wow. Melanie, don't you think you're going a little overboard? Maybe you should get Miranda's tattoo too. She looked confused for a second, but quickly regained her smile. Alex, just relax. Let's just spend the day as friends. As friends. You do realize that in this house your acting skills are on par with a cheap theater production, right? She didn't say anything, just took her coffee and ran into another room. In the afternoon, my friend Ben wrote to me. Alex, I think I saw your wife at the Forest Pearl Hotel. And she's definitely not at a meeting with her mom. He attached several photos to the message. One showed Miranda in a tight red dress standing next to a guy I could call Christopher number 2. In the other, they were raising champagne glasses together. Oh, Miranda. What are you doing? But you know what made me laugh the most? The fact that she didn't even try to hide it. She didn't even cover her tracks. I called Ben. Listen, bro, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to send them a little romance in their room. Roses, champagne, maybe some sweet dessert. And take a picture of it. Alex, are you serious? Absolutely. And also, take some photos of them together. I'm gonna need that for later. Dude, You're a genius, Ben laughed. In the evening, Melanie walked around the house like a minefield. She didn't even try to flirt or act like an actress. She looked like she was about to faint from stress. Alex, how are you? She asked at dinner. I'm fine. How are you? Are your nerves still working? She almost dropped her fork. What do you mean? Oh, nothing. I just think that some people in this house are trying very hard to look like something they're not. The next day Miranda returned home. In her hand was a bouquet of roses, and on her face was the happiest smile I've seen in the last year. Hello, my love. I've missed you so much. She threw her arms around me. How are your parents? Are they healthy? I pulled away a little and raised my eyebrows. Oh, yes. We had such a great time. And how is Christopher? Was he a guest at the family dinner? She froze for a second, but quickly resumed her smile. Alex, what kind of jokes are you making? Oh, there will be many more jokes, dear. I let her believe I was still in control. Melanie sat on the couch and pretended to read a book. But her fingers were nervously turning the pages. That night I sat in the living room with a glass of whiskey in my hand. I had a plan in my head that was so simple and yet so elegant that I could barely contain my smile. I texted Ben. Gather everything you have. Next week we're going to put on the best show of the year. They will remember it. Christmas. A holiday of family warmth, Christmas decorations, and flashing lights. But for me, it was not just a winter evening with cocoa and a blanket, it was the perfect backdrop for the perfect revenge. Snow, lights, festive music, and two main actresses. Alex, I have an idea. Let's go to a Christmas play at the theater. It's very popular, and all our friends will be there, Miranda said, with a sly smile that almost made my eye twitch. The theater? That sounds wonderful. Let's invite Melanie, too, I replied, raising an eyebrow and grinning like a bad guy in a bad action movie. Their faces froze for a moment, but then they put on their trademark smiles again. Great idea, they replied in chorus. I already knew what was going to happen next. They went to their room to get ready for the evening, and probably checked every possible loophole to avoid any unpleasant surprises. But they forgot one thing: the best theater is the one where acting is not required. On the eve of the performance, I went to a small coffee shop. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and pastries tickled my nostrils, and soft Christmas melodies calmed my nerves. But today, no amount of music could relieve the tension that was wandering somewhere in my chest. Excuse me, is this your seat? I heard a woman's voice. In front of me stood a brunette with bright red lips and penetrating eyes that showed some indescribable fatigue and anger. It was mine, but now I think it's ours, I replied, pointing to the chair opposite. She smiled and sat down. My name is Emma. Alex. Nice to meet you, Emma. We started talking. She was smart, sharp-tongued, and there was something in her eyes that immediately caught me. And suddenly, my ex-boyfriend. He cheated on me with some married lady. He said she had a difficult marriage. And what was this latest name? My voice was calm, but my heart was pounding. Miranda. I almost spit out my coffee. What a Christmas! I exclaimed, wiping my mouth with a napkin. Emma froze for a moment, but then we both laughed. So, Alex, shall we make this Christmas Eve a little more interesting? Oh, Emma, you just read my mind. The theater was glowing with golden garlands, smelling of mulled wine and cinnamon. Miranda and Melanie were dressed as if they were getting ready to receive an Oscar. They were confident, their smiles shone so brightly that they could charge their phones. Alex, what do you think of my dress? Miranda asked as she made a turn. It's gorgeous. A real star. I smiled and adjusted the cuffs of my shirt. They didn't notice my gaze. They didn't feel threatened. And it was beautiful. Intermission. The hall slowly filled with a light hum of conversation, and I stood up and whispered. Excuse me, I need to freshen up. I went to the theater manager, a tall man in a tuxedo with a shiny bald spot. Good evening. I have a small gift for all the guests of this wonderful place. Can you show it on the screen before the second act? I handed him a flash drive and an envelope with a holiday bonus. Yes, sir, well do that. I went back to my seat. What was that look, darling? Miranda whispered, looking at me suspiciously. Oh, honey, relax. It's Christmas. Time for miracles and surprises. First things first. Our wedding. Smiles. Hugs. The romance. People in the audience were smiling. And then, an abrupt transition. A dark hotel room. Miranda in the arms of her husband. Glasses of champagne. Their lips are in a kiss. Next shot, Melanie in Miranda's bathrobe, on the phone. Alex is an idiot. He won't understand anything. Are you kidding me? Someone said somewhere behind her. That's Miranda, a woman's voice said. And her sister, someone else added. Miranda put her hands over her face. Melanie leaned forward, as if trying to merge with the chair. What is this? Alex. Shut it off. Miranda screamed, but her voice was lost in the silence of the theater. I got up from my seat. Oh, I'm sorry, I guess this isn't the part of the play you were expecting. But believe me, it was the most sincere part of the whole evening. All eyes were on me. Miranda looked up and whispered. Alex, please, oh, no, darling. The play was over. The applause, the curtain, the end. I walked out of the auditorium, leaving them sitting there with hundreds of stares burning into their perfectly made-up faces. Miranda froze, her lips trembling. Melanie stared at the floor. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving the two broken women in the crosshairs of hundreds of bewildered, judgmental stares. It was quiet outside. Alex. Emma came up to me. Hi, Emma. What do you think? Was it a good show? It was better than Home Alone at Christmas. We laughed and walked further down the snowy street, leaving behind the theater where the two main actresses had just failed in their most important role. Miranda and Melanie were sitting in the kitchen. Red eyes, wrinkled faces, no trace of their former confidence. They couldn't even look me in the eye. Good morning, girls, how did you sleep after the premiere? I smiled and poured myself a cup of coffee. Alex, please, Miranda started to say something, but I raised my hand. No, only I'm talking today. Today is my day. I took a sip of coffee and pulled 2 envelopes out of my pocket. Here is everything I need. Miranda, divorce papers. Melanie, a financial report on your fraud with my credit cards. Their faces turned even whiter, if that was possible. But this is boring, right? I slapped my knee loudly. This is not interesting. So I decided that today we would play a game. A holiday game. What game? Melanie whispered. A game called Santa's Surprise. I handed them both a box wrapped in bright red paper with a bow. Open it. Melanie was the first to untie the bow. Inside was a pink plastic bracelet. The same kind they use at the entrance to clubs. What is this? She wondered. This is your ticket to the Golden Cage nightclub. I've already booked a VIP table for you. There are a lot of interesting people there. But there is one condition, you must go there together. And I've already made sure that there are your favorite photos. Alex, please. Miranda sobbed. Oh, Miranda, that's not all. Your present is a little more interesting. She opened the box. Inside was a USB drive. It contains all your videos, photos, and audio recordings. And the best part is that they will be shown at your company's annual Christmas online conference. I hope your boss likes surprises. You can't do this. Miranda shouted. Yes, I can. And I will. But listen up, you have a choice. You sign the papers and get out of my life, or what? Melanie's voice trembled. Or we play on. And then a Christmas miracle will turn into a Christmas nightmare for you. That night I invited Emma to Christmas dinner. We were sitting in a restaurant, laughing and enjoying our meal. But then I noticed them, Miranda and Melanie. They entered the Golden Cage Club. A huge screen near the stage was glowing with photos and videos. And every visitor to the club could see their adventures. Miranda was clutching her head, Melanie was trying to cover her face with her hands. People were laughing, pointing at them, someone was filming them on their phones. "Oh, how beautiful," Emma whispered, looking at the scene. The next morning I received 2 messages. The first was from Miranda. "Alex, I signed the papers. You've won. Goodbye." The second was from Melanie. "You ruined everything. You're a monster." I smiled and put the phone on the table. "Alex, how are you?" Emma asked, coming out of the kitchen. "I'm great. Really great." I went to the window and looked at the snow falling outside. This was the best Christmas present I had ever given to myself. Miranda and Melanie have completely disappeared from my life. Their bank account. Frozen. Credit cards. Blocked. Their jobs. Oh, at work, Miranda was waiting for her boss to ask her questions about inappropriate corporate content at a conference. And Melanie? She's now on the blacklist of all banks after financial fraud. It seems that now their diet consisted of instant noodles, tears, and cheap wines from the neighborhood supermarket. Emma moved in with me. At first she was against it, saying, "Alex, this is too soon. We've only just met." "Soon? I've been waiting for you all these years. And you know, our house has become cozy again. No eavesdropping, no hidden cameras, no paranoia. And finally, I could pee with the door open without worrying that someone would try to overhear me."